Hello, here is Anna Hauser from Hashimoto Help Initiative. Hashimoto Help prevents and brings to remission Hashimoto thyroiditis via evidence-based e-health services. Today we are going to talk about our voice and immunity. This webinar is part of the webinar series Hashimoto Reset Your Immune System. But let me introduce you to our special guest today, Roger Love, #1 vocal coach. Roger helped Oscar, Screen Actors Society, and dozens of Grammy Award winners. He has been singing coach of the Jacksons, the Beach Boys, Eminem, Jonas Brothers, Selena Gomez, just to name some. He has been a speaking coach of Anthony Robbins, Tyra Banks, Jeff Bridges, John Gray, Suze Orman. Welcome, Roger.
So thank you for all the good work that you've done over the years. Thank you for all the education that you've amassed. You're a very dedicated person, and I really appreciate that as far as education and learning and helping others. Well, let me close one thing so there's a little less ocean noise. Interesting about all the statistics that you found on voice and singing. And remember that my premise is that there's no difference between singing and speaking. So when you're saying an hour of singing a day causes less anxiety and produces affects the immune system so positively, remember that the way that I teach people to speak does exactly the same thing. And because maybe most people aren't singing for an hour a day, at the very least, even the most introverted, quiet person may be speaking for an hour a day and can amass the same positive therapeutic results when you don't differentiate between speaking and singing the way that I don't.
Yes, I absolutely agree. And this vagus nerve we're talking about, it is influencing also us when we're talking, not just singing. So you're right. And it has an effect on the inflammation, which is very common in an autoimmune disease, and especially in Hashimoto. But it is not just talking, but how we do talk and how we sing.
I love it. Okay,
I'm very curious because you have so much experience with working with people and working with their voices and learning and expressing themselves, talking. What is, and there is so much resemblance what I want to do, but we do it in a different way, but it seems that we have the same goal. And I'm wondering how and what we can do today that we teach our listeners to come together and teach our listeners. What do you think?
I think we need to teach them that there's no difference between singing and speaking, and that I have been working for a lifetime to help people create the right sounds that come out of their mouths so that they will receive the benefits of how they feel when they speak and how other people feel about them when they speak. And that we, first of all, educate your listeners as to what some of my techniques are so they can start today by breathing the way that I want them to breathe, by understanding about the elements of melody that I want them to understand, by understanding about the elements of volume, and by having specific things that they walk away from today that changes the way that they sound, which changes the way they feel and the way that other people feel about them. So I want to be as specific as possible today and teach as many techniques as I can so that people can have the benefits from those techniques, not just talk about esoteric theories and ideas and how I wish the world was a better sounding place, but how today I can sign up your listeners to join my club of saying we are going to make ourselves better and maybe the world better based on the way that we sound.
Yeah, but my experience also with your course was tremendous. It was really a wow. what I discovered there, I don't know if it sounds how it sounds to you, was that it was indeed what you said, the warming up exercises were even bringing something. And I thought, what is this that brings a change? It was more that I had a melody. So I thought, but if I sing a song, why this doesn't happen? And I thought, I taped myself, and I figured out that it was very monotone. I was singing, but it was like this. So when I was using your exercises, and I accompanied you, and I used my voice, then I realized, oh, something is happening.
Well, the exercises basically set up your body so that you are getting the right amount of air in to your lungs, and then give you control of how air comes back to the vocal cords and then exits your mouth. And the exercises also make sure that the vocal cords are in very specific positions to deal with that air. And those positions and the way that the air hits them create very unique vibrations. And those vibrations not only create sound, but those vibrations obviously create other effects on the body, your body, and the body of the listeners.
Yeah.
So when you're singing and speaking correctly, the same way, with the right amount of air coming in and the right amount of air coming out and the right amount of vocal cords vibrating like the strings of a guitar or the strings of a piano, when you focus that much attention on that air and vocal cord, then there is no difference between singing and speaking. Then when you're speaking, you have all of this great volume, and your voice not only resonates your body, but leaves your body and literally vibrates the body of anyone that comes in contact with your sound. And those invisible sound waves that leave my mouth and hit your body, they're processed by your brain, and they're turned into ideas and thoughts and emotions. And now science is proving that those vibrations that I send out from my body literally have physical effects on your body. So I believe in my lifetime, as we're starting to understand this, I believe in my lifetime we'll be able to understand things like, oh, you have a thyroid problem? Well, make this sound. Yeah. And that'll help your thyroid. Oh, you have a stomach ache? Oh, you have a problem with your heart? Make this sound. Ah. And that sound and that vibration will make you better. You have a headache? Oh, make this sound. No. And then the headache will go away. I really believe that this, in my lifetime, that will happen. It's already happening with certain diagnostic services. For example, Parkinson's disease. Parkinson's normally has a certain amount of tremor in the voice, but early on signs of Parkinson's disease, you don't normally detect the little tremor or the little skip in the voice. Well, now they're hooking people up to machines that register even the slightest little tremor in the voice audibly, and they're using it as a tool to say you might be early stages of Parkinson's. Yep. So not only will we be using voice as a diagnostic tool, as we've already started to, I think it'll all come back around and say, make these sounds and you'll feel better specifically, and you'll make other people feel better.
Yeah. Yeah, this was.
But today I think we go from the standpoint that when your body is ill, when your body is in a weakened state, what can you do with the instrument that you were given? What can you do with the way you bring air in and out? What can you do with the vocal cords? What can you control so that you're letting your voice work for you even in a weak physical state?
Mm-hmm. What are your suggestions then?
Yes, absolutely. Most people are, first of all, not filling the tank with gasoline as if they were a car. I use that analogy. Yeah. You cannot go on a long trip. You cannot even go on a short trip unless there's gasoline in the tank of your car, or maybe if you're thinking forward, you've plugged your car in and the battery is full. No matter what, you need some kind of fuel. Most people are trying to take air into the body in a way that doesn't actually fill the gas tank. So here's what most people are doing right now. When they breathe, they're first of all breathing in through their mouths, because it's very easy to breathe in through your mouth. And you've seen so many people breathe in through your mouths. So what you do is you open your mouth and then you take air in. But we were born to breathe in through the nose. All babies breathe in through the nose. Why? Because there are filters in the nose called turbinates. And when you breathe in through the nose, the way you're supposed to get energy into the body, the air is moistened by those filters. And also, those filters can cut off and filter out things that you don't want to inhale that might be potentially bad for you physically. So you're supposed to breathe into the nose. You have an amazing filtration system, but most people don't. So I suggest that your listeners, the first thing they do is every single time they breathe, they close their lips. And then with your lips closed, there's only one way to get air in. Can't get it in through your ears, can't get it in through your belly button. You only can get it in through your nose. So it seems weird, but it's the easiest thing possible. Every breath starts with, my lips are closed, then I breathe in. Some people say, oh, Roger, but I have this side of my nostril is clogged, or I have asthma, or I have allergies, and I really can't get that much air in. And I say, that's not a problem. You don't really need that much air. 72 hours after you've, God forbid, passed away, you still have 25% or so of air in your lungs. So your lungs already have plenty of air. You're not depleting the lungs of air every time you breathe out, every time you speak, every time you sing. You're just topping it off. So you only need small breaths. If one side of your nostril is closed, if both sides of your nostrils are affected and restricted, it doesn't matter. You breathe into your nose. That's step one. Second, you stop raising your chest and shoulders. When people breathe in, they do this. And they raise their chest and shoulders. Now, I tell people this all the time when I'm in lecture and there's 500,000 people. I say, everybody, raise their shoulders all the way up. And you should do it for me right now. And your listeners who are watching this should raise their shoulders. And you're like, oh, isn't this comfy?
Oh.
What if I gave you, don't bring them down, what if I gave you the permission to do this thousands and thousands of times a day? Is it possible that that would create some tension? Do you really want to breathe in a way that creates tension and tightness and fatigue because of the muscles? No. And that's not helping you get air into the lungs. Your lungs are not in your shoulders. The best way of getting air into the lungs is to pretend that you have a balloon in your abdomen. And when you take a breath in through your nose, the way that I've already just taught you, when you take a breath in through your nose, you let your abdomen come forward. And then when you exhale through your mouth, because that's how you're going to speak and sing, your stomach and your abdomen fall back in slowly. So it's simply like a balloon in my stomach. I fill it up on the inhale, and I let it fall back in on the exhale. I fill it up, and then I exhale. The only way to have an amazing voice that is both voluminous and melodious and authentic is to get your voice out of your body and deliver it to the people that listen. You cannot do that unless your stomach is coming in while you speak, because that pushes the right amount of air out of the body. You should only speak while your abdomen is coming in. You should only speak or sing while your abdomen is coming in. It's just like an accelerator pedal on a car. If you're standing at the base of the mountain, your vehicle is right there. The only way you're going to get up the mountain is if you push down the accelerator pedal. You're not going to coast up the mountain.
Yeah.
Well, sending sound out, you need to push down the accelerator pedal. This is my accelerator pedal. As my stomach comes back in, as my abdomen comes back in, it pushes air out. And now you have volume. And now you have a chance of finding all of the other elements that I want to add to the voice. So breathing is the first key. Mm-hmm. But breathing the way that I say, people are sick and tired of everyone saying, oh, let me teach you how to breathe for 6 months. And they miss the concept of breathing in through the nose. And they miss the most important concept, only speak while your stomach is coming in. So a perfect exercise for this is you put yourself up against a wall. And so your back and shoulders are up against the wall. So you know when you're raising your shoulders, you can feel it against the wall. So you put yourself up against the wall. You put your hands on your abdomen right about where your belly button is. Mm-hmm. And then you take a breath in. And you take a breath in. And you let your hands come forward. And then you do this. You blow the air out of your mouth. And you let your stomach come in. If you have to, let your hands help your stomach come in. And that's diaphragmatic breathing. And it doesn't have to be any more complicated than that. And that's a big part of the equation right there.
Yeah. What my experience is also with clients is that you see with Hashimoto's very often blocked emotions and not very balanced emotional regulation system. But when they do the exercises, so it's like my hypothesis is that we can sing and spread out certain emotion by singing or talking, but we can also by singing, we can come in touch with the emotions that are inside our body that we didn't know or we had difficulties to come in touch with. I don't know. Did you understand what I mean?
100%.
Yeah.
When you sing a song, you are given certain variables. The composer of the song says, here are the words. Mm-hmm. Sing these words. So now you don't have to think about what words you're going to say. Mm-hmm. So that takes the anxiety out of thinking about what words you're going to say. So you're singing the words that you've memorized because you listened to the other singer sing it. So the words are there for you. Words are filled with emotion. Certain words are happy words and sad words and angry words and playful words, but the words have emotion as well. But the bottom line is you've lowered your anxiety a little bit because you're not thinking about what words you have to say, because people often get nervous when they think. This is why public speaking is so difficult. They're not only worried about the way they look and the way they sound, but they're worried about the words they're going to say. So you take a song, I'm not worried about the words. I'm singing along with this singer that I love. I'm singing along with this singer that I love, and we're together. It's like a choir, and I don't have so much responsibility. So the words are, the anxiety attached to the words, that's gone. Second, you have melody that is given to you because the composer told you, on this note you go up, on this note you go down, on this note you stay the same. And the composer told you, hold this note out longer, duration, make this shorter, short. So the melody is given for you as well. You don't have to think about the melody. You don't have to create the melody. It's given to you. The words are given to you. The melody's given to you. Even the volumes are given to you. Because when you hear the singer get louder and the music get louder, you get louder as you mirror it. When you hear the music get softer and the singer get softer, you get softer because you mirror it. So pretty much you are now all on right side of the brain. You're not left side of the brain at all. You're on right side of the brain. You're on creative side of the brain. Mm-hmm. You're singing along with a singer. You're singing the words that the singer already gave you. You're singing the melodies that they gave you. You're doing the patterns that they gave you. And it's all right brain, all creative. You're not slowing down the process. It's pouring out of you. Add the right kind of breathing to that, where it's filling up your lungs, and then the air is pouring out as well. Of course, singing becomes a relaxation exercise, a freeing exercise, a way to find authenticity. Because when you're free like that and the words and the melodies are just pouring out of you, you feel very free and you feel very open. And there's no worries. There's very low anxiety, because most people aren't thinking, oh, I didn't hit that note, so I need to take voice lessons. They're just singing, and who cares whether they're on the note or they're not on the note. They're singing, they're dancing. You see, I drive up people and I'm sitting in my car and I look over to the car next to me and people are doing this. They're dancing, they're singing, they're having a party. Yes. So why shouldn't you feel that way? But that's exactly how I feel when I'm speaking. Why? Because what are the variables for singing? Okay. Pitch, how high or low I am. Pace, how fast or slow I go. Melody, the pattern of the notes. Volume, how loud or soft. And tone, how airy or how edgy. So those are really the 5 variables of music: pitch, pace, tone, melody, volume. Well, that makes sense, because you have to know the melody of a song. You have to know the volume of the song, and it's written. It says pianissimo if they want you to do softly. It says forte if they want you to get louder. It's all written there once you understand music, once you read music, or once you just imitate someone who's singing and following the notes and the melodies and the volumes and the pacing and all that. So singing has pitch, pace, tone, melody, and volume. So I spent the first 17 years of my life only being a singing coach and working. I mean, when I was 16, I was a voice coach for the Beach Boys and the Jacksons and Earth, Wind, and Fire and groups, very popular groups like that. And I spent 17 years only teaching singing. So I got very, very good at controlling pitch, pace, tone, melody, and volume, and making people sing great. When speakers started coming to me, professional speakers like Anthony Robbins and John Gray, who wrote the book Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, and Susie Orman, the financial expert, and all of these amazing speakers started coming to me, and presenters. And then actors started coming to me, Jeff Bridges and Reese Witherspoon, and all of these super famous actors who wanted me to work on their actual speaking voice. In the beginning, I said, no, that's not me. That's not what I do. I happen to be an expert on the singing voice, pitch, pace, tone, melody, and volume. I'm very good at it. I've spent 17 years, almost a lifetime, doing nothing but that. And then they would say to me, well, come on, give it a shot. Or I would say to myself, these people are so interesting. Maybe I should come up with some concepts that would work for the speaking voice. And so what I did was I set out to literally understand everything I could possibly understand about the speaking voice. And I read and I studied and I listened and I thought and I conceptualized, and I did as much left brain as I could possibly do to finally come full circle to realize that a great speaking voice actually is the same as a great singing voice and is dependent upon pitch, pace, tone, melody, and volume. So after I learned everything that I could amass, I came back to my concept of, isn't that interesting? I came full circle to realize that my gift would be to make people's speaking voices musical, that my voice would be to help create the same kind of influence that great singers had over their fans and the public, and allow speakers and presenters and just anyone who wants to communicate authentically to have those same powers of influence. Mm-hmm. And once that happened, then I was running, because I was so excited. I believed that I uncovered something that was unique, and also unique to my skill set, because I'd spent so many years already working on controlling air and controlling pitches and controlling volumes and controlling the position of the vocal cords. So all I had to do was spend the rest of my life from then till now equally focusing on speakers and singers. And that's what brings us to this endeavor today.
But it cannot be that you haven't met someone who suffered with self-critic, you know, we all have self-critic, and some of us are suffering more and the others less. And with a profile of Hashimoto thyroiditis, you see that people are suffering with very harsh self-critic. What I myself discovered just playfully is, but I probably have another suggestions, is to use this self-critical voice and messages and to sing them in a funny way. So to use the message, I'm bad or I'm stupid or whatever in a funny way. And not fight with it, but just sing a song. Sing it as in a melody that fits to you or you like.
But to sing those negative words?
Yes, in a funny way.
I like that. I have nothing against that. That sounds like a very good idea.
I was suggesting how you face this in your practice when you meet people who are struggling with their self-criticism.
Self-esteem, self-criticism. Yes. First of all, let me tell you that every great speaker or singer that I've ever worked with uses this, let's not even call it self-criticism, let's call it self-critiquing, or holding themselves up to a very high standard. So there's a lot of very famous actors who will not watch the films that they create because they don't want to be sitting in the audience looking up and thinking, oh, this was slightly imperfect, or that was slightly imperfect, or I could have done that better. So they don't even go and watch their films. There are a lot of very, very famous singers that don't really like listening to themselves singing, hearing themselves recorded back. They don't like to listen. They like to do it. They like to do it. They like to do it. They like to sing, but they don't really even want to listen back with a critical eye. But the bottom line is that all of us need to get to a place where we understand the sounds that are coming out of us and that we have a way of listening back. I have my clients regularly, every single week, record themselves singing, even on their phone or on their computer, record themselves speaking on their phone, on their computer, and listening back. But listening back to specific variables. It does you no good to just listen to your voicemail message and say, oh, I don't like that person. Because you don't know how to fix that. And that's why people are desperate. And they're like, oh, I don't like the sound of my voice. I don't like the way I look. I don't like but they don't have a specific set of tools that they're supposed to be judging themselves by. So one of the benefits of what I do is I give people those specific tools. Here's what you're supposed to be listening for. If we're talking about your voice, your authenticity, how people are reacting to, you're supposed to be listening to, one, melody. Do you have a melody? Mm-hmm. Do you just stay on one note all the time, as if you were just one note on a broken piano that just does the same note over and over and over again? That's called monotone. Where's your melody? Are you a piano that goes up and down? Are the words attached to notes that some higher and some lower? Do you mix it all up? What kind of melody you have? So when you record yourself and you listen back, don't just say, oh, I hate my voice. Say, Roger said I'm supposed to be listening for melody. And then listen. I say there's three directions for melody. You're either walking up the steps, you're either walking down the steps, or you're staying on the same note on the landing. So I'm either going from low to high. Here I'm going higher and higher and higher and higher and higher. Or I'm going from high to low. Higher, lower, 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 lower. Or I'm on the landing staying on the same note. Roger says I could listen to myself. And I don't have to be a pianist or a violinist or any kind of a musician to listen back and say, am I walking up the stairs? Am I walking down the stairs? Or am I staying on the same note all the time? And then if I notice that I'm staying on the same note all the time, Roger says that I should just add more melody. So I'm going to spend a lot more time walking upstairs. And in the beginning, I might feel a little funny about that. but it's going to be great because people are going to react to that differently. So one thing. Next thing, volumes. When you listen to yourself recorded back, do you have any volume? Or are you just really soft and really airy? Mm-hmm. Most people talk as if they were talking on that their idea is they have to get their voice from their lips to the phone, which is very, very close to their lips. So they don't get a lot of volume. No, and I say you need to, when you speak, you need to send out enough volume that it carries at least 10 feet in front of you. And that volume comes out of your mouth on a solid stream of air and then fills the space in front of you. Why? Because we talked about it before. You want to literally vibrate the people that are in your vicinity with the sounds that are coming out of your mouth, with those vibrations. So if you don't have enough volume, Roger said I should listen to myself recorded. And I realize I only speak whispery and I'm so soft all the time. Roger said I should try to get louder. So do the breathing and try to get louder. And then record yourself again and see if you could add more melody and more volume. And it's things like that. Also, here's one of the biggest benefits of learning to speak with more melody, more volume, more control over all the tones. We judge ourselves often by the way other people judge us. So if I walk into a room and someone says, Roger, I love your blue shirt. I say to them, my first reaction might be, oh, this old thing? I don't even know I don't know where I got it. It's just some shirt I have hanging in the closet, which is self-defeating. Mm-hmm. When I walk in a room and someone says, Roger, I love your blue shirt, I'm thinking to myself, this is my favorite blue shirt. I can't wait to get it cleaned again so that I can wear it tomorrow. I want to wear this shirt. If people love this shirt, I love this shirt. And I can't wait till the next time I wear it. So I see the reaction of other people, and then I judge. If someone says, Roger, you're looking a little fat today, or you're looking a little this, or you're looking, that I'm like, well, I take that to heart. But so we need to be able to do whatever we can to control the perceptions of other people. And this is where voice plays an incredibly important role. I can make sounds come out of my mouth and control the perception of other people. So, for example, we talked about melody. If I use melodies that go up the scale, ascending melodies that go up, it makes me sound happy. And then people react to me thinking, you're in a good mood, only because I used more melody that was going up. If I use melody that goes down, I really love my dog. I really like golf. People are like, what are you so sad about? I thought you liked golf and your dog. So the melodies that I send out make people think I'm happy or sad. If I have a soft volume, people will think that I'm also tired, that I don't have any energy, that I might be sad, because they've connected softness, not necessarily with tenderness all the time, because you're not in a romantic situation every second, but just in normal conversation, people perceive softness as weakness. People perceive softness with sadness. So when I'm really soft, thinking that I'm just being gentle and kind to people, they're actually thinking sad, low energy, not in a very good mood. So when I have no volume at all, people are perceiving that way, and then they react to me that way. So my job is to help people react to you the way you want. So if you want to sound the smartest, well, there are sounds that you should make to sound smartest. If you want to sound the happiest, there are sounds that you should make to sound happy. If you want to sound grateful, there are sounds that you make to sound grateful. And then people react to you differently, and then you feed off of that energy, and that becomes your self-perception, that you start to lose the criticalness of it and the negative of it, and you present yourself in a more positive way, and people react to you, and then you start believing their perception because it's better.
But you also have as very hard symptoms in the Hashimoto is also one of which is depression. And I think the example you gave might be that we use it for yourself, not just how you might influence others,
but how you can use your mental state. You know, going up can influence the way I feel myself.
So when you're depressed,
Yes.
what better thing to do than get louder, which sends more air in and out of your body, which oxygenates your blood, which literally gives you incredible amounts more energy. And I know you're tired, I know you're depressed, but when you get louder, engaging your body in the pursuit of that volume, when you do it, it's reciprocal and it gives you more energy. When you're depressed, what's the benefit of having all descending melodies? Making other people depressed? Why don't you have ascending melodies, melodies that go up, melodies that are walking up the steps? What happens is, not only do you feel better when you're making those, when you hear them, it puts you in a better mood because you listen to the sounds that you make as well. Yeah. So there's no negative side. People might think, well, that's just faking it, because when you're depressed, why should you sound not depressed? And the answer is because if you can sound in a way, and if you can engage your body in a way that literally changes the energy level, you can lighten the depression and move towards hearing sounds that are not depressed. One of the things I do in my 3 and 4 day seminars is some days I might have started at 9 o'clock in the morning on stage, and after lunch and after dinner, I might still be on stage at 10 o'clock at night, 11 o'clock at night, like some of my students, Anthony Robbins does. You might find yourself clapping and jumping up and down at 2 o'clock in the morning. And what do I do when I need to get back on the stage after I've been working all day at this, and it's still 11 o'clock or 12 o'clock? If I just give in to my body that says, I'm tired, and my posture suffers, and my breathing suffers, and then I get softer, then I'm dead in the water. So what do? I come right back on the stage, and I use a lot more volume. I engage my body as if I was dancing on the stage. I'm using extra melody. And what happens is I start to hear it. I start to feel it. My body realizes what it needs to do to create those energies, and it becomes second nature. And then I can make it through hours and hours more just based on me telling my body, this is what we're going to do.
Yeah. But you're using also a lot of holistic approach in your program. Huh? You're talking about breathing, melody, volume, using hands and postures, and also eating and drinking. I think, can you say something about it? I think might be helpful for the audience.
For the eating and drinking?
Yeah.
The key to having a great voice and keeping the voice in great physical shape is to keep the vocal cords hydrated, which means they have to be moist and lubricated. Mm-hmm. Because the vocal cords open and close and let air go through them and then slam back into each other anywhere between 50 to 2 or 3 or 4 or 5,000 times a second if you're really high in the range or if you're really low in the range. So if you've got your vocal cords opening and closing like this, hundreds, if not thousands of times a second, they can get dry.
Yeah.
The goal is to keep them lubricated. So the number one thing that you can do is drink a lot of water, because people are under the misconception that if their throat is dry and their mouth is dry and their vocal cords are dry, if they drink water, that will somehow get to the vocal cords, which is not true. When you drink water, it goes through any liquid, tea with honey, lemon, whatever you want to drink. When you drink any liquid, it goes down the food and liquid hole, but the vocal cords live down the air hole. So you cannot drink anything, any moisture, to the vocal cords, and people don't realize that. Or they're sucking on a lozenge thinking that, well, this is going to be good for my voice. When no, it doesn't get any effect to the vocal cords because they're down the air hole. And if anything went down there, you would choke. And then forget about singing or speaking, you'd just be trying to breathe. So what you must do is you have to drink enough water that it goes into your body and that your bloodstream sends the water to all vital organs first.
Yeah.
And then if it happens to have a little extra, it'll send water through the bloodstream to the salivary glands, which produces the mucus of the throat, which is called phlegm. So you must drink, I would say, a minimum of a half a gallon of water a day.
Mm-hmm.
I used to say a gallon of water a day, but now it's difficult for people to drink a gallon of water a day. And there is science that proves enough that if you drank half a gallon of water a day, that would probably be sufficient. So at least a half a gallon of water a day so that your bloodstream can carry the water to the cords. Second, there are certain foods that some people are minor semi-allergic to that end up making the phlegm in their throat too thick.
Mm-hmm.
And then when the phlegm gets too thick, it can encase the vocal cords and make the vocal cords not connect perfectly. So that's when people are clearing their throat all the time or feeling like they just have too much phlegm in their throat. There are certain foods, certain chemicals that in a number of people create that extra thick mucus of the throat, phlegm. A lot of people have a problem with dairy.
Yeah.
Not everyone. If you want to be a great speaker or a singer, and I think everyone should be a great speaker and a singer, whether they're getting paid for it or whether they're just singing in the car or whether they're speaking at the dry cleaners. We are all professional speakers. And it might be the person behind the checkout stand at the market that we're speaking to, and we're professional and there's our audience. Or it might be hundreds or thousands of people or millions of people. It doesn't matter. When you open your mouth to speak, you're a public speaker and we have to take responsibility. So some people get extra thick phlegm from dairy consumption. Not everyone. I've had singers and speakers who could drink half a gallon of milk a day and cream and cheese and have no effect with extra phlegm at all. But a lot of people, if they're clearing their throat all the time, if they feel like there's too much gunk in there, if they feel they want to swallow all the time, they should try cutting back or eliminating dairy for maybe a week.
Dairy is well known as a trigger by Hashimoto. So if you want really to stop the Hashimoto attack, you should really cut the dairy products.
Fine. Well. So then that's fantastic that it has that correlation, because I don't believe that dairy products are great for us anyways. I think milk is, cow's milk is very good for baby cows, but I haven't been proven that cow's milk is that great for babies who are not cows. So great. Dairy one. Caffeine is another issue. Caffeine speeds up the production of mucus in the body. Caffeine also dehydrates the body. So when you have too much caffeine, your body gets dehydrated. When your body gets dehydrated, the systems in your body says, oh, we need to create more moisture. And then it usually overshoots and then creates too much phlegm. So you might find that you need to cut back or cut down on caffeine. Dairy, caffeine. Some people have anything that you eat that is difficult for the body to digest, for example, meat. If I want to speak, if I knew you and I were going to speak together, I wouldn't have steak for breakfast because there's only so much blood in the body, and blood travels more to the stomach area to help with digestion, and then there's less blood flow towards the vocal cords. So anything that's difficult for the body to digest actually takes too much energy away from the vocal cords in the form of blood flow. So some people have a problem with meat. So you wouldn't want to eat something that was difficult to digest right before you had a great speech to give or an important communication or you wanted to sing. Mm-hmm. So smoking is the absolute worst thing that you could do for your body as far as vocally. Because remember how I told you that food and liquid doesn't go down the air hole? Well, when you inhale smoke from a cigarette or any kind of substance that you inhale, it goes immediately past the vocal cords and it dries out all of the moisture on the cords. So now you are asking your vocal cords to do this with no lubrication.
Mhm.
And no matter how much water you drink, you will never get the balance that you need to compensate from that horrible smoke that hits the vocal cords in such a harsh way.
Mhm.
Some people have problem with high wheat intake. There's some studies that say lots of wheat now produces extra phlegm.
It is interesting. All the things you are mentioning are really the triggers of the Hashimoto's. Wheat also, you know, that this was also the reason that I asked you, because just to make people aware, our voice is so much related to the disease. It's something symbolic from the other side. Yeah.
Doesn't shock me. Also sugar.
Yeah.
Sugar is 100% related to so many bad things, but let me add it to the list of you wouldn't want to do a great deal of sugar because that would also create an extra phlegm and extra thickness in the throat that you don't want.
Yes. I was thinking about you differentiate 3 voice types. Yeah?
Most people think that there are really only 2 voices. And singers and speakers think this. They think there's a voice down low called chest voice. Ah. And if you put your hand right here and wrap it around the top part of your chest, the low part of your neck, and you say, I can, you feel it kind of vibrate right here. So the low part of the male and female voice is called chest voice. Yes. And then with your hand here, if you did the same thing and you did this, you went, wee, very high, much higher than you would normally think to speak. Wee, you wouldn't feel the vibration here. You feel the vibration in your body someplace more up here. So we call that head voice. Mm-hmm. So the low notes that vibrate in this part of the body are called chest voice. And the high notes that vibrate in this part of the body are called head voice. Most people only think that there are those 2 voices. They listen to opera singers, female opera singers who are singing in head voice, oh, and they listen to rock and roll singers who are singing in chest voice, oh, and they're bringing the chest voice up as high as they can, and the female singers are bringing the head voice down as low as they can. But usually, when people try to go back and forth between chest voice and head voice, there's a problem. There's an area where the voice doesn't know what to do. That's why you hear people break. And that's why you and others, when you're trying to sing a song, if you're singing along with Jessie J, or you're singing along with Christina Aguilera, or you're singing along with Adele, and she goes really, really high, and your voice goes like this, oh, and it has a big crack in the middle. Here's why that happens. There aren't just 2 voices. There are actually 3 voices. There's a voice that most people never talk about and most people never learn called middle voice that lives in between chest and head. So middle voice acts as a bridge between all that thick, low, strong chest voice and all that beautiful, high, pretty head voice. Middle connects the chest and head together. So let me give you an example. Mm-hmm. Chest, down here where I speak, normally where most people spend all their time speaking and they shouldn't. Head voice, way up here, chest, head, middle, chest, head. Now put them both together, middle. So my speakers and singers have chest, beautiful, thick, and strong, which connects perfectly with middle, beautiful, thick, and strong without a break, which connects perfectly to head voice, beautiful, thick, and strong without a break. So they can sing or speak all of the possible notes from the lowest notes to the highest notes without any pressure and without any straining. And you say to me, Roger, well, that's fine if I really want to be a singer, but why would I need all of those notes to be a speaker? Why do I need all of those notes at the supermarket if I'm just talking? Why would I need all of those notes at Starbucks if I'm just drinking coffee? And I say that the answer is that all of those ranges, chest, middle, and head, have certain sounds, vibrations, and tones that are attached to certain emotions. And And when you make the sounds in head voice, it brings across more emotions that are beautiful and sweet and kind and loving. And when you make the sounds of middle voice, it brings across and elicits the emotions of energy and power and excitement. And when you bring out the sounds of chest voice, you're attaching those sounds to strength and comfort and power and stability, and that all of those sounds have certain emotions that other people react to, and all of those have certain vibrations that your body reacts to when you create them, and other people's bodies react to when they feel them because you're speaking to them.
Yes, interesting. I got another question. Can you say something about relationship between voice and gender? Because we see in Hashimoto much more is Hashimoto patients are much more of women, 80%. So I'm wondering, can we see something also related with our expression, with our voice?
Here's some interesting things about the voice and men and women.
Mm-hmm.
Before puberty, the male and the female voice are exactly in the same range. If they were a piano, they would be hitting the exact same notes on a piano.
Mm-hmm.
So I believe that actually connects little boys and little girls together, that communication level is enhanced. Little kids playing with little girls. My best friend's a little girl. I'm a little boy. I'm a little girl. My best friend's this. We don't see gender differences that much, and it's much easier to communicate.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe one of the reasons is because we're making the same sounds, the same vibrations. Then when puberty happens, the male voice drops, primarily because the larynx, the voice box, continues to grow for a longer period of time and at a faster rate in young boys than it does in girls. The growth of the female larynx slows down as they reach puberty, but the growth of the male larynx keeps going longer and it's more rapid. So a male voice, based on the fact that their vocal cords get longer and fatter and thicker, and their Adam's apple gets bigger, and their vocal cords and the voice box itself gets bigger, it now sounds like it drops to a much lower place on the piano, to a lower range. Mm-hmm. So now, where little boys and little girls were communicating on the same notes, now little boys are now young men, and they're down here, and women stay in that same higher range. And I believe that separates us tonally and also communication-wise. And I don't think anybody's really studied this, and I've been really working on this. So I believe that when that happens, when we're speaking to one another, we don't feel the same.
Yeah.
We feel that all of a sudden the boy is more pushy, more aggressive, more forceful, because the vibrations of chest voice are so much thicker and more powerful because the chords are longer and there's more volume to it. And then there becomes this interesting play where a woman sometimes gets trapped in an airier, lighter, prettier voice, mm-hmm. or a man gets trapped in a low voice and forgets all about all those beautiful highs that he had before puberty. So what I believe is that there's an area, if you learn chest, middle, and head,
yeah.
there becomes an area of what I call overlapping frequencies, where there's a part of the male voice that is in exactly the same range as a part of the female voice. And where they overlap, I think it's very, very important to communicate sometimes in that space, because it goes with our mirroring culture, how we imitate people, when you're walking down the street and you don't know someone and they say, howdy, and you say, howdy, even though you're not from Texas and you're not wearing a big belt buckle and you never said howdy to anybody before. Or you're walking down the street and somebody goes, hey, and you go, hey, the same tones even. And you're like, why did I do that when I have a low voice? So we live in a mirror culture. That's how we learn things. We imitate languages, we imitate accents, we imitate everything, language. So because we live in this mirror culture, it's important to understand about these overlapping frequencies. And that's one of the other reasons that I teach people chest, middle, and head, so they can communicate like that. Also, just some specifics. Women who suddenly find themselves in a position, a job situation where it's all men, sometimes they try to lower their voice and make it sound more manly. And then that's completely inauthentic to them. And then they wonder why they didn't rule that meeting, or they didn't, the board didn't initiate that woman's ideas or perspectives, or why it seemed like the board turned against them. And so I teach men that they need to have all of the chest voice, but all the middle and all the head voice, so that they can mix it up like any good chef does with great ingredients. And I teach women the same things. They shouldn't be trapped in head voice all the time just because they want to sound feminine. They should have head voice, middle voice, and chest voice, because it'll make them communicate on a level that is so authentic when they own all three of those.
So the authentic voice is the voice that is adaptive.
And the voice that is varied. Just like you would never buy a song that was only one note. Mm-hmm. You buy songs that have notes that have patterns that attract you to that song. And the voice is the same way.
Yes. And what about the influence of culture? Because you see in some cultures, singing is very common as a collective event. People sing together. There is a lot of research showing that it's also very bonding, has a bonding effect.
I believe we're all in this choir together, and that some people have solos and some people have less solos. But in my small mind, I'm thinking that it's all a choir, and that we're all supposed to add our sound to it, and then everything will be better. But culturally, what happens is that both speaking and singing, different cultures create different norms. For example, people who grow up in Japan, they're not taught by example, they're not taught to have a ton of melody. The Japanese language is very, very much monotone. It doesn't use a lot of melody, so that they're not encouraged when they listen to other Japanese people and their Japanese teachers and their parents. They're actually hearing a lot of monotone. So Japanese people end up thinking that melody is maybe not a good thing, because the people that they're hearing all around them don't have a lot of melody. And then, which is what's great with the internet and with social media and all of these things, not only have we opened up the world to data and information, but we've actually opened ourselves up to a world of sounds. Because now we can communicate with people all over the world who sound differently, and we can learn and imitate those sounds as well. So the young boy or girl who's in Tokyo learning to speak English not only learns English from the teacher who there is teaching them English, who probably doesn't have much monotone, probably doesn't have much melody, but is on social media hearing people with all of this melody, and it affects them, and they start to add more melody. Certain cultures have volume issues. Certain cultures have certain pronunciations with the words that make it difficult for other people to understand. Certain regions speak with the corners of the mouth really wide. If I grew up in the South, I'd learn to speak with my mouth a little wide, and I'd sound more nasal. So because when I go a little wide like that, then what happens is the sound does not bounce into my cheeks, because it can't get to my cheeks, and it starts going up to my nose, because this position of my mouth sends more air to my sinus cavity. So position of mouth, position of the tongue for vowels and consonants, volumes, melodies, all of that is culturally based. But thank goodness, like I said, we're in a new age where I hear your voice, I hear your accent, and I love it, and I hear someone else's voice, I hear their accent, and I love it, and I learn about it, and I bring it into my ears, and I play around with it in my mouth, and and we become more connected.
Yes. Well, you've learned more about Hashimoto thyroiditis from me, isn't it? And if you now have if you have summarize and you have one message to Hashimoto sufferers, what that would be?
Your voice can be the power plant of your body that can create energy for yourself and vibrations that will make you feel better yourself, physically better, and better about yourself. And your voice is a gift. And you're supposed to learn how to use that gift to give to other people. So it's a gift that you give away. In order to give it away, you have to learn a little bit about it, how to create melodies and volumes and how to do the right kind of breathing to give that gift. Because when you get good at giving that gift away, when you're depressed, you become less depressed. When you feel physical maladies, those vibrations and that gift that you give away will help with the way you feel personally and physically and the way that other people react to you. And that interchange between you giving energy out, them receiving it, and them giving that back to you will make you feel better. Because, like I said, I believe that in my lifetime, they will learn specifically. When I make these sounds, it makes me feel better emotionally and physically. And when you hear these sounds, it either makes you healthier, happier, or less healthy. And I'm just ahead of the curve saying, let's take responsibility for making other people happy or sad based on sounds that are coming out of our mouths, and maybe even sick or well based on the sounds that are coming out of our mouths. And if you take that responsibility, they will.
Great message. And
thank you so much. I'll talk to you soon.
Talk to you.